Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning.
Welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, with the spotlight on section hikers.
And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, your premier podcast with the spotlight on section hikers, and I am your host, Julie Jester Gayhart. The spotlight for this episode goes to Josue Gomez, or recently named Spider-Meatball. I started following Spider-Meatball on his Instagram because of his great photos and inspirational sayings he would write with each photo. Then one day, Josue made a post titled Life Changing. He went on to say that make time for the things you love. Get out of bed and out of your thoughts. Focus on the path in front of you, not the past or the one that you can't prepare for because you haven't seen it yet. After I saw this post, I reached out to Josue to see if he would like to come on the podcast and share more about his life-changing moment. As you will hear, he has a remarkable story and proves once again how nature can heal anything you have going on in your life. As you will hear, Josue and I have a very candid conversation, and suicide is mentioned in this episode. I would like to take a moment and mention that hiking has saved people's lives, and hiking has become an important part of Josue's mental health journey. I'm going to post the National Suicide Hotline in the show notes and give it to you now as well. The number is 1-800-273-8255. The Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress, prevention and crisis resources for you or your loved ones, and best practices for professionals in the United States. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode, and now on to hear more from Josue Gomez and more about his life-changing moment. All right, you guys, welcome back to the podcast, and I have a very, very special guest to the show. I introduce you to Josue Gomez, or I am going to refer to this gentleman as Spider-Meatball. So welcome to the podcast, Spider-Meatball.
Thank you so much, Julie. Spider-Meatball is here.
And not only are you here on the podcast, but you are actually, I see, working in your office, which just so happens to be at ZPacks. So let's start off with you telling us how you ended up working at ZPacks and kind of what you're doing there.
Yeah, well, COVID hit 2020. I was working for a company working on military parts for tanks, and I ended up losing that job. And I saw there was an opening for ZPacks, and they had a position for a line lead for backpacks and quilts, and I applied. I got the job, and I had no idea of anything about backpacks, hiking, tents. I've never even seen a quilt at this point. And
listen, that's not the answer everybody was thinking.
Yep, exactly. But they chose me, and it's been a blessing. ZPacks has definitely changed my life, and honestly, this is the best job I could have ever had. And now I went from doing that to I am part of the marketing team, and I do videography and photography here. So any of the new ads that you might see, or any of the new photography, that's from Spider-Meatball.
That is awesome. So, all right. So you're having a great time working at ZPacks. You worked your way around and through, and now you are part of the marketing department. But I want to go back to where you kind of said you had done no backpacking, because one of the reasons I was interested and intrigued in having you on the podcast is you've posted a couple things on your Instagram that backpacking has changed your life and you have a different mindset now. So you kind of actually stepped on trail, what, about 5 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Has it even been
Yep.
5 months? Yeah, it's been 3 or 4 months, I think.
Yeah, it was October 20th was my first official, we're out there on trail with the trekking poles, making our way up, taking breaths. Yeah, that was like, I'll never forget that. It was October 20th, 2021.
So a little over 3 months as we're recording this. So before we talk about that particular day, you did try to do some training to get ready for
Yeah.
that day. So
Yeah.
talk to us about the first time you actually went for a hike and tried to get all your gear together and all that stuff.
Like I said, I had no idea on how to hike, but I am kind of like on the nerd spectrum. So I'm like, if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to learn how to do it. And my marketing manager, his name is Matt, he's details, and he really, any question that I had, anything that I had, hey, what about this? And how do I go ultralight? And are these shoes good? And what's going to help me the best to get up there? And he would tell me exactly what I needed to know. He is super knowledgeable in everything when it comes to backpacking, and he really helped me out a bunch. And he literally told me, you have to start walking to get some, miles under you, and then that way you can prepare. And that's what I started to do. I remember I set myself up for a 2-mile hike. That was going to be my first hike here in Florida. And I remember I hit 0.2 miles, and I told myself, I can't do this. I immediately got shin splints.
Oh, man.
And I was in horrible pain. And I finished it. I finished the 2 miles, but at 0.2 miles, it was just like, I don't think I can do this. And I had a set goal to at least hike 6 days a week. And every single day I was in pain. And I went from 2 miles to 5, but I was still in pain, and I still had shin splints. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. There's no way that I'm going to do this. And I literally kept working through and through and through the pain till the shin splints stopped, and I was able to do Blood Mountain.
And you were able to overcome that. So you had the shin splints, you had all this stuff going through your mind, and you guys were working up to doing a photo shoot, in and around the Blood Mountain area. So let's go to that day. So I'm going to say, before October 20th, you weren't necessarily living the life you wanted. And then October 20th, you posted that was the day you started living. So walk us through what happened on October 20th, 2021.
To be honest with you, this whole experience, it was such an opportunity, that ZPacks even gave to me to be able to film and do these photos up in Blood Mountain. And I remember I got I got so much support and so much help from everybody. I was losing weight. Everybody here at ZPacks was like so supportive and constantly like, hey, you're losing weight. You look amazing. Keep it up. You can do this. I had so much help from all the supervisors and a very special lady to me called Janine. She made my backpack for me and supported me with that. And I remember my first thought was, I don't even know if I'm gonna like to sleep outside. Like I've never even gone camping. And I remember that very first night we slept outside in Georgia, I was like expecting to hear all this noise and being woken up every 5 minutes. And I'll tell you this, that night has to have been the best night I've ever got of rest. Actually, when I got back home from the trip, it was so difficult for me to acclimate to sleep back in bed. I was willing to throw my sleeping pad back on the floor and go back to sleep there because it was amazing. And we were doing Blood Mountain that day, October 20th. We were walking. Hiking in the mountains is way different than hiking in Florida. You know, you can't really prepare yourself for the elevation or the ups, the steep ups. You can't really prepare your body for that here. But I remember when we got to a point where I was able to see the ridge for the first time, because it's in the fall season, so the trees don't have too many leaves on them. And I immediately broke down. Everything just stopped for me. My most vivid thought was, I'm so thankful, so grateful to be alive, because I attempted suicide about 3 times in my life before that. And actually, before getting the position on the marketing team, 2 weeks before getting the position, I attempted committing suicide. And for the first time ever, something just lit up, and everything, though, I said this on a post that I posted, everything went from black and white to full color. And I was like, I was ready to give up living when I never lived at all. There's so much that life had to offer, and I never experienced it, never got a chance to experience it. And I had a bunch of trust issues before, because through life, people end up using you. And going on a hike with these individuals, from the COO, Rick, to Matt, I call him Details, he stayed with me every part of the hike, no matter how slow I was, because I wasn't fast. And this special person, Elle, I can't, like, I got a hug from Jamie and Elle. I'll never forget that. When I saw the ridge and I broke down crying because I was just so thankful. And that was such a special moment that I was able to share with these individuals that I've never experienced in my life. Never, not once. And to be able to have these people with me and to go back and now laugh and be like, hey, you remember that one time I saw the ridge and I broke down crying and how amazing it was? And now look at how far, from not being able to do 0.2 miles to doing 16, 17 miles. And now in 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing 60 miles, 61 miles with some people from ZPacks and Elle and other people that are coming out to come do the Ocean to Lake Trail.
You know what's interesting that I love so much? You said before October 20th, life was black and white before that day. And on October 20th, everything turned to color. And you had so much to live for.
Mm-hmm.
How has it been since October 20th?
Oh, man.
You guys, big smiles on his face, I'm telling you right now.
I'm telling you, it is. The first thing I was concerned about was, man, this is happening in the mountains, But what's going to happen when I go back to Florida? There's no mountains in Florida. What's going to happen with the hiking? And little did I know, Matt, he's always like very informative, and he's like, hey, there's a Florida Trail. And if you want to hike, there's a bunch of miles on the Florida Trail. And we ended up doing a couple hikes. And actually, we're going every week or every other week. And it's because I told him, hey, man, like, I want to know if there's other people that work here at ZPacks that have not even experienced what I got to experience. And we ended up we put it on our Facebook employee, and people started showing up, and even more people started showing up, and even more people started showing up. And I think next week we're going to have an overnight with a couple of people from ZPacks. It's literally been a blessing. But thinking about, how I'm going to hike if it's not in the mountains, it wasn't about being in the mountains. It was about being outside. And suffering with anxiety and depression for about 7 years, I realized on every hike I learned something, and I learned more about myself, and I learned more about my anxiety. And one of the biggest things that I learned was the way that my anxiety works, because a lot of people's is different, is I'm either focusing on the past, what I could have done, or I'm focusing on the future, the next 10 steps ahead of me that I'm worrying about. Where is it going to fail? How is this going to fail? When I'm hiking, I can only focus on that moment in the present. And everything just becomes still. My mind is still. I'm observing what's going on. I'm thinking about how my body is feeling. Do I need water? And all this anxiety just goes away. And then when you learn to apply that in your day-to-day life, when you do start having that anxiety and you say, hey, what do I need to do to ground myself? Man, what if I just focus on breathing? What if I focus on the now? Not on the past, not on the future. What can I do to focus on the now? And literally, hiking has been saving my life with my physical health and, more importantly, my mental health.
Do you have people around you now that are outside of ZPacks that are in your, I'm going to call it prior to October 20th life, that look at you now and they're wondering what's going on? You're laughing, but I'm serious.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because, I was never an outdoors person like that, and for me, like being not an outdoors person to I'm taking pictures on the edge of like waterfalls and on mountains and swimming in a river, and I actually just got to see snow for the first time ever in my life. And everybody's asking me, they'll text me, hey, you're crazy. What are you doing? When I take a video of my tent frosted from the inside because it's so cold. Or, hey, isn't there bears? And I'm like, there might be werewolves, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's alligators down where you are, yeah.
Exactly. And I'll get those messages, hey, what's going on? Are you crazy? Like, how do you get to do those hikes? And people have been reaching out and saying, hey, I love what you're doing. How can I get connected to what you guys are doing? I want to do what you're doing. And I take that opportunity and tell them it's not about where you're walking to. It's not about where you're hiking. It's about that peace. The getting to, at least for me, the understanding myself more mentally, more physically, and connecting with people. When you're on a hike and you're with a group of people, there's nothing you can take advantage from that person. You guys are on an even ground, whether you're the CEO or whether you're the guy that cleans the toilets. You guys are out there. You guys are walking the same walk.
There is no hierarchy of people or of individuals.
Exactly.
Everybody, food, water, shelter. Hey, how's it going? All that kind of stuff. And one of the things I have here in my notes, which I thought was incredible when you said this to me the first time, you said one of the benefits for you now is you do allow yourself to be vulnerable, and that's got to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Vulnerable not only with other people, but with myself, because you get told so many times you have to be tough and men don't cry and you don't really see men open up. And I'll tell you what, it takes a lot more guts to put yourself out there than to keep it in, because people may judge you. People may not understand your struggles. I remember at a point of my life when I didn't understand what anxiety was, and now I'm putting myself out there, especially because I do want people to know that men do struggle with this, people do struggle with this, men, women, children struggle with anxiety and depression, and that it's okay. It is normal. It happens. But there's always a way to live life with it and doing things that you love. But it takes you from the smallest actions, from like wanting to when you're dealing with anxiety or depression, you just want to stay in bed sometimes all day. You don't want to go anywhere. From just making yourself a cup of coffee or going outside to go get the mail to pushing yourself to just take those few steps. It will change you little by little, little by little. From even if you can't go on a hike, even if you walk your block, get outside.
Hey, look where that point 2 led you. Point 2.
Yeah.
Has led you down a new life.
Yeah. I can't even say I'm the same person I was 3 or 4 months ago. The way that I deal with things is completely different. I remember constantly being told that I wasn't good enough, or always feeling like I wasn't good enough because I was living towards society standards. And I remember my biggest, when I was saying that 2 weeks before I got this marketing position here, I tried to commit suicide. It was because I had the car. I had a house that I don't even remember going to the rooms because my house was so big. I was married. I had everything that society tells you that you have to have. And I worked so hard. I was working 1.3 jobs. And I found myself empty. I didn't have a home. I had a house. And I was just living to pay this, to pay that, to pay bills, to work for this person. It wasn't living. Who was I trying to impress? Now I'm happiest when I'm in my tent.
Isn't that incredible? Incredible. You had, well, I'll call it, what, you had a house?
Yeah.
And your tent is now your home.
Yeah. Yeah. My tent. I'm making my little car. I'm making a little camper in there. And I'll tell you, it's just society tricks you into thinking you need to have all these things. And I realize that the things that are really important are the things you can't buy with money. You can't buy peace. You can't buy joy. You can't buy friends. And you can't buy family. A house, you can lose it with a blink of an eye. A car, you get in a car accident, you lose it in a blink of an eye. A job, COVID hits and you lose your job. But the things that matter, you can't buy with money. And being able to hike and enjoy all this stuff and feel like I'm alive, I don't have to spend $1. Well, on my food and snacks, but, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. You know what? You got a new life on October 20th. And you know what, Josue, I am so glad you answered my Instagram DM because I just love you, man. I don't know why I'm serious. I saw your picture and I said, there is something about this dude. I want to talk to him. And you know, he also got a new name, Spider-Meatball.
Oh man.
You got to tell us about that.
I love you too, Julie. Yeah, I've had people ask me about that already. Spider-Meatball. Oh man, being a big guy, you don't want to be called meatball at all. But I'll tell you this: there's this wonderful woman called Yaya. She's Matt's mom, and she knew that this hike to Blood Mountain was going to be not an easy one, especially not for me. She had mentioned to me, hey, you make it down, you come down and you make the whole thing, I'll make you spaghetti and meatballs. Mind you, I was eating like a cow. I was just eating vegetables and chicken like nothing else to try to lose as much weight as I could. And when she told me, all I heard was the words carbs. And I was so excited. I was like, yes, carbs, let's go. And my biggest fear, my biggest worry for the whole hike was coming down the mountain. Because I was like, I don't know, this is going to be steep. How am I going to do this? I got to the top of the mountain and I was already exhausted. I'm like, what am I going to do? And somebody said, hey, remember, there's going to be spaghetti and meatballs once you make it down the mountain. And I'll tell you what, that was like a turbo that just kicked in, because I went down that mountain so fast. And all I kept saying was spaghetti and meatballs. I'd pass some of my coworkers because I was going so fast. I'm like, spaghetti and meatballs. And they're like, hey, we got to give Josue a trail name. And there's a couple. One was Mountain and the other one was Meatball. And then I heard Mountain Meatball. But since it was my first time going on a hike like that, whenever I had to climb up or climb down something, I used all four limbs, my arms, my hands to get up something, my hands to get down something. And they're like, oh, he's like a Spider-Man. And then out of nowhere, here comes Spider-Meatball. And I was like, there's no way Spider-Meatball's going to stick. And
well, guess what?
Spider-Meatball stuck.
I love it. That was another reason I said, I got to talk to this guy. I just loved all your posts and everything. And I love talking to you now. And you know what? I'd love that somehow you ended at ZPacks, you started hiking, and after October 20th, 2021, you got a new life, bud.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. And you're gritted from ear to ear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should have videoed our session. That way I could put it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been life-changing. It's given me so much patience. There's so many, I can go on of the lessons that hiking has taught me. But, one of the things that I learned about myself is I'm very patient with others, but I was never patient with myself. I never knew my value. I never knew my worth. And there was a hike. I was so excited because it was going to be my longest hike. And I felt physically that I was able to do it. And I was, I think, 15 or 16 miles. And I was like, this is the biggest one that I'm going to do. It's going to be the farthest one that I've done. And I would say like 3 or 4 miles in, I ended up rolling my ankle.
Uh-oh.
And I still had, before I rolled my ankle, and even when I did Blood Mountain, I always had the mentality in the back of my head, I can't do this. I'm going to slow everybody down. I'm not fast enough. I kept having this I'm not enough conversation in my head. And right then and there, when I twisted my ankle, like 3 or 4 miles in, I thought about a time where I had a miscarriage with my wife, and I said, I got through that. I can get through this.
That's right.
And I got up, I started walking, and for the first time ever, I'll never forget this. The first time ever in my life, I said, I got this. I got this. And I said it once, and I said it all the way till I finished. And that day, Matt was hiking with me and my friend Field Trip, Jamie. And I want to say the last quarter mile, I ended up taking off running. And Matt's behind me, running just behind me with me. And we finished strong. And it was like that day and specifically was life changing for me, because it was the first time I spoke life into me. And I wasn't speaking negatively. All I was telling myself is, I got this. I got this. Every step, because trust me, it hurt. Every step hurt. But I was like, I said, I got this. I got this. And not only did I finish running, but me and Matt were the first two to finish the whole trail.
Awesome.
And I'm so thankful for that. So thankful for that day. And now, not only did I apply it then, but that change in mindset showed me that when it comes to hiking, and not only hiking, but anything that I try to do, my strongest weapon is going to be my mind. And if I think and I believe that I can do it, I know I'm going to do it.
I love that. And not only have you accomplished so much in a short amount of time, you have many goals and ambitions. And I love that as well. So I know you're out, you guys are out spending some time section hiking on the Florida Trail. I know you got a trip coming up, the Oceans to Lake Trail. And you also mentioned you've got the Foothills Trail in your mind. You want to do some of the New England Trail. You want to hit the Art Loeb Trail. I mean, sky's the limit.
Yeah. I'm planning. I want to do the Art Loeb Trail in June, hopefully. And it's going to be more training, but it's like I just said, I know if I put my mind to it, like at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to do it.
I love it. Well, listen, Spider-Meatball, I am going to mark my calendar down 6 months from now. And if you'll come back on, I want you to come back on. I want to hear where you are. I want to hear what's going on, what's happening.
I love that.
And let's check in. Let's let the listeners know how you're doing, what hiking you're doing. And it might be before 6 months, but I think I need to give you 6 months to do some get your hikes in and come back. Let's check in with each other. Can we do that?
Yeah, definitely. I would love that. I really thank you for the opportunity to even have me on, because my only hope and the only reason I even post on my social media account is for those people that want to give up, those people that don't think that it's possible to do any of this, just to give them a little hope and inspire them. And you allowing me to be here is a chance for me to continue to inspire more people. And that means a lot.
Well, you've definitely inspired me. And believe me, there'll be hundreds of people listening to this. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show. And do you have any parting thoughts for the listeners as we close out?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I'm going to share a little bit of what I posted today, because it was a thought that I had that's kind of covers all the bases of everything that we talked about. And I said, life is worth living for, period. There was a time that I didn't think so, and I asked myself why. To deal with so much pain and constantly feeling misunderstood. And now I realize that my pain helped me relate to others in need, and I found that everything I've been through was worth it to mold me into the man I am today. And I just want to say to anybody that's listening to this, just keep pushing. Just keep pushing, because you'll never know. If you're living a black and white life right now, you'll never know when it's just around the corner for it to all turn into color. Because 6 weeks before I went on this hike, I was ready to give my life away. And if I would have never waited, I would have never been where I'm at right now. I would have never enjoyed so much of what I enjoyed. So hold on and just keep pushing. It's going to happen. There's so much to live for. And when you think that you're alone, just reach out to whoever that's near you. You know, that's something I've learned recently, is how important a support system is and how there are still good people.
You got that right. There are still good people. All right, Spider-Meatball, you're not done here on the podcast. We are going to check in and we're going to see how you're doing. Thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Julie.
Just wow, you guys. Such an open and honest conversation with Josue. I am so glad on October 20th, 2021, Josue began to see color in a whole new life. And I am so thankful that for some reason I saw his post on Instagram and he agreed to come on the podcast. I hope you all will do me a favor and share this episode out on your social media sites. There could be someone out there that needs to hear this and have their life-changing moment. As always, you can go to hikingradionetwork.com and click on the Jester Section Hiker Show to find all of today's show notes, pictures, and links mentioned in this episode. If you find value in what we do here at the network and want to give back and help in the production of our shows, you can always leave a donation by clicking on any one of our donate buttons found on our website. And be sure to leave us a note why you enjoy our shows. Thanks for listening. Be safe out there and happy section hiking.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with me, and I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. You're wondering if I go wandering with you, what kind of trouble we'll get ourselves into. Would it be wrong to tag along with a band of vagabonds? You wonder if I'd wander with you. So I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. I'm wondering if you'd come wandering my way. If you ever get lost, or if the trail leads you astray, the music of the pack can always bring you back. I wonder, can we wander away? And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets in these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.